So every few years we have a moment in America where people stand up against police brutality and racism. Has it turned into a movement? Joe Madison drops by to discuss that very question. Check it out, leave comments, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel. So much in the news, but mostly we've got bizarre Donald Trump stuff going on. Juneteenth, Axe Handle Saturday. Joe Madison is on the line with us, the Black Eagle. Joe's show is every morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Sirius XM on the Urban View channel. And, I would say the most highly rated progressive talk host in America, Joe Madison. Joe, welcome back to the program. I'm curious your thoughts on the state of things right now. Have we moved? You've talked in the past on this program many times about having a movement, not a moment. Have we moved from moment to movement?
This is my first one. Oh, yes. No question about it. Let me give you a classic example. All these young people have said, I've got two viruses that might kill me. One is biological, COVID-19, and the other is political, social, and that is what George Floyd and others have represented. And I'm saying to you that what I think the vast majority of young people have said, I'm willing to sacrifice my health. I'm willing to sacrifice that I might be infected with COVID-19. But that's what the difference is, and I'll say this, I've said it 100 times. I was taught that the difference between a moment and a movement has always been, in history, sacrifice. Every movement that has made change has required sacrifice of some type. Let me give you an example. Today, most people may not know this, we call it Loving Day. And this is the day that I believe that the United States Supreme Court ruled on the fact that we could have that interracial marriages can't be outlawed. The Loving couple, when they got married here in Washington, D.C., because they couldn't get married, now get this, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, they got married, went back to Virginia, and then late one night, the police break into their home and arrest both of them for being married. And so for many of us, we call this Loving Day. And but they sacrificed. They sacrificed, but that sacrifice changed this country to where we don't even think about interracial marriages the way this country thought about it for decades. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, centuries. So yes, it has become a movement, and not just in the United States, but globally.
Joe, we saw after Charlottesville, after Trump's meltdown about very fine people, the very next thing he did was do a rally in Phoenix, a blue town, where he talked about pardoning Joe Arpaio. As a result, there was massive violence outside the event, and in the day following, the Arizona Republic reporting some screamed, some poured milk on their face, skin slicked in sweat, burned from chemicals and pepper balls. Then when Trump finds himself being impeached, what does he do? He goes to Minneapolis, to Ilhan Omar's district, again trying to provoke violence. Now he's going on Juneteenth to Tulsa, the former home of Greenwood, where in 1921 the United States bombed a city, burned 35 square blocks to the ground, killed 300 people. Right. Your thoughts on whether this is going to work for him? It looks like he's trying to continue this.
Well, yeah, it's going to work for his base, but let me make one correction. I sit on the board of the National Red Cross and of the American Red Cross, and And let me correct one thing. The Red Cross went in and actually documented that there were 600 people who were killed, not 300. Wow. And that is according to the official count of the Red Cross. But let me also say, I had a caller today, Tom, that grew up in Tulsa, went to school in Tulsa, and never learned about the 1921 Tulsa riot, and said there probably wasn't even a paragraph in their history books. I guarantee you that Donald Trump didn't know a darn thing about the Tulsa riot, and I can almost say the same thing, that he probably didn't know anything about Juneteenth, which speaks to the point that neither of those have anything to do with each other. Juneteenth was when, as you know, because you're as much a historian as anybody else, Juneteenth was when the federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, after the Civil War had ended, and announced that the Civil War had ended. The slaves didn't know it. Some suggest that the slaveholders did know it, and so for all those months, these individuals remained slaves. And Juneteenth has always been what we often refer to as the African Americans in Texas. It's their 4th of July, and it has always been celebrated. It's been celebrated with speeches. I used to go to Galveston to participate in talks and lectures. One doesn't have anything to do with the other. One came about Juneteenth in 1865, and of course, as you just reminded people, the Tulsa riot was 1921. So how he conflates the two is beyond me. All he's doing
in the mind of Stephen Miller
is hijack. Oh, who knows? If not just Stephen Miller type, and I would quite honestly include some of the African Americans who recently met with him and either suggested he do this, probably gave him a crash course on these two events, and they decided they could politicize it. That's really what's going on. This is the same thing he did when he hijacked St. John's Episcopal Church and the Bible. Same thing. No ifs, ands, buts about it.
Yeah. Joe, we got 30 seconds to a hard break. I'm wondering your thoughts on what happens if Trump loses the election and starts screaming voter fraud and refuses to leave the White House, or if we'll even have an election.
No, we'll have an election. He can't stop the election, and I'll make the hard break very simple. You just send in the Marines and escort his ass out. Simple as that. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. He'll have between the election and January 20th. He's going to go. I wouldn't even worry about that.